What's up, guys? Welcome back. I got a little story time for you guys today. This is my stalker story. And I've had a lot of stalkers. I even have like 2 or 3 right now. Most of them are just like online stalkers. People on the internet that I've blocked or like want to leave me alone. Either them or like people they know. Just like make fake accounts or like follow and watch and talk about everything I do. When like I haven't talked to them in years and like their lives still like revolve around mine somehow. I for sure have like narcissistic tendencies. So to know like I'm living my life, the fact that I can affect their daily lives in one way or another. When I don't think about them, I don't care about them, and I move and all my actions have nothing to do with them. It just warms my little heart. Probably not a good thing to have. Like growing up until this day, my idol is Ronnie Radke, and so I love being able to piss people off while being completely unaffected. But like it gets weird and creepy. Those online stalkers, those internet stalkers like cross into your real life, and that's what this story is about. It's going on 4 years, so I think it's safe to talk about now. Law enforcement and lawyers I was working with told me not to bring any attention to it on the internet because it could make it worse, or maybe cause this person to like freak out, take more crazy, insane, illegal action, and potentially do something to hurt me or my family. And this happened when I moved back from Texas. My time in Texas was already crazy enough. Actually, a little story time of my time in Texas. It's my YouTube channel right here. If you want to watch that later, you can kind of see my mindset coming from Texas to North Carolina. And definitely was a lot like heavier on me because of like what I went through in Texas. But at this point in my social media career, I hadn't got to the point where I could make content full time for a living. And I was still a personal trainer. So when I moved back from Texas, I got a house. And at that time, my little brother moved in with me and his then girlfriend. And about 2 weeks after me moving back to North Carolina and into that house, I got another personal training job, but this time at Planet Fitness. And this is where it all started. If you guys don't really know, my biggest followings are like on TikTok and Twitch. I think at that point I was like 90,000, maybe just breaking 100K followers on TikTok. And so like I wasn't a big creator, but I was kind of getting out there. And at that point I was very private with my personal life. But I was going through so much, so like on stream and some of my YouTube videos and TikToks, I kind of talked about moving from Texas back to my hometown in North Carolina. So like I would talk about my job at Planet Fitness and being a trainer. And some of my content I'd be wearing like my Planet Fitness trainer uniform. I was making YouTube videos then, going around my hometown with my brother, just doing a bunch of funny, crazy stuff. Where I was living wasn't really a secret. Like my location was kind of out there, and I didn't think much of it because, you know, like this for me was the first time like a stalker came through the screen and like invaded my real life. And I would say up to about a year ago, it kind of affected me like daily. It made me paranoid. It made me not trust people. I was always looking over my shoulder. But guys, if you ever have a stalker, take that shit seriously. Don't let anyone invade your personal life. Don't let anyone invade your personal space. Don't let anyone ever step over your boundaries. Like the worst thing you can do is not tell anyone and try to deal with it yourself, because I did for a while. Because these situations aren't funny, bro. They can get dangerous really quick, like they did for me. So basically it started out like this. Probably like my 3rd or 4th week into personal training at this Planet Fitness. This guy, and he was about 36 years old, and just from his appearance, he was really scary. Like he kind of looked like this. I don't know if he was necessarily on drugs, but like it looks like he didn't sleep or shower, and he kind of had like this wild look behind his eyes. But for me, like I try not to judge physical appearance too much, especially when I'm training as a personal trainer. I try to be professional, kind of accept people how they are, and, you know, just do my job. So like I said, he came in, and when people scan in at Planet Fitness with their phone, their names pop up. A little background: at Planet Fitness, as a trainer, you don't get paid based off your courses or classes. You just get paid an hourly rate, and you basically have a class for 45 minutes, a 15-minute break, and another class for your whole shift. And when people have like the premium membership at Planet Fitness, they can sign up for as many classes with their membership as they want. So like technically someone could come in, could take a class every 45 minutes, 15-minute break, take another 45-minute class. They could sign up and do it all day because they're group sessions. So sometimes I'd have just one person, but a lot of times I would have, you know, 5 to 10 people per session, per class. And this guy started coming, and we'll just call him Brandon. He was quiet, he didn't talk a lot, and when he would kind of talk in the classes, he kind of just asked me kind of like a personal question, like how old I was, what was my last name, was I born here, just different things, which I thought was weird. I kind of thought he was just kind of like autistic. And listen, I'm a little autistic. I love autistic people, so I kind of didn't take the awkwardness bad. I was kind of like just whatever, and I was nice. And you know, I trained everyone the same. If you're willing to put in effort and you want to come to classes, like I'll give you a good workout. And so like I wasn't thinking too much about it. The first 2 or 3 days of me training him, he would come in, and like I said, he would always be wearing the same thing. He would kind of have a smell like he was kind of like homeless. And if you guys don't know, Planet Fitness memberships are very cheap, and so Planet Fitness would kind of have homeless people come in and they would use our showers, you know, work out and spend a little bit of time out of the weather. And for me personally, I didn't care. Like, if it gives them a little break from being outside, they can use the showers for free, work out a little bit, you know, get outside from the weather, then I think that's an overall net good, as long as they're not harassing anyone or, you know, affecting anyone else's workouts. But that goes for whether you're homeless or you got a home. But I didn't think too much of it. I just like lived in his car or something. And so, like I said, going to like the week 2 or whatever, he started signing up for more classes, like 2 or 3. And so I started to take more notice of him. He would be there so often. And he kind of would ask me increasingly personal questions, like, how much food did I eat? And as a personal trainer, like, I get that. Like, they're trying to like figure out like my meal fitness plan to kind of, you know, gauge maybe they wanted to gain more muscle, lose fat, whatever it is. I kind of was like, you know, whatever. And like, obviously as a streamer, as a content creator, like, I don't really care. Like, if someone's creeping me out or weird or whatever, like, I'll tell them how it is. I understand when you're like hired to do a job and work, you got to keep that professional attitude. And so I take that very seriously, and I was always professional, I was always nice. And as a personal trainer, you do want to create a relationship with your clients, because that will motivate them, and you honestly meet some dope, genuine people with training, and you can like help them change their lives and be better. So I was kind of like teetering on that, like, this guy's really strange, but like, you know, who isn't, you know? And sometimes people just need a friend, they just need their life turned around, and fitness is a great way to do that. So like I said, he was taking 2 or 3 classes from me, like back to back to back. So I was spending almost 3 hours with him, because in between classes, he would kind of just hang out there for 15 minutes while I would, you know, take a break, get a drink of water, use the restroom or whatever, and he would just be in the gym. People kind of just started to recognize him and like, oh yeah, that's so-and-so. Coworkers would constantly talk shit about him, how he was like always at the gym, he was always staring at people creepily, staring at me, asking weird questions. Like, he would ask my coworkers when I worked. Crazy thing was, I had a fixed schedule, and you could go on the Planet Fitness app and see anytime you could sign up for a course. You could basically see when I was there. You can honestly track the personal trainers there, like when they work, when they're there, when they're not there. It wasn't honestly a great system. So as another week went by or so, he'd come in the gym and he would just make increasingly weird comments. And I would notice when I would get off work and work out, he would kind of just be like, we had some like tables kind of near the gym area. People would sit and chill, you know, after their workouts, if they're waiting for someone to come, you know, mixing their protein shake or whatever. And they would kind of sit there and just chill. When I would work out, like off the clock, he would sit there and kind of just watch me, which made me feel really uncomfortable. Growing up how I grew up and, you know, how it is, like, I kind of started to think he was gay, which there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I'm chill with all my gay homies. I kind of started to think he kind of had like a little crush on me or something. And as a trainer, it did make me feel a little uncomfortable, because like, if someone's signing up for your classes because you're a great trainer, they want to get in shape, awesome. But if they're signing up just because they have a crush on you or like have some sort of weird sexual interest in you, it's kind of strange. Like I said, at this time I was working full-time as a trainer. I was streaming 8-12 hours a day, posting content, posting YouTube videos. Like, things like that were kind of like on my radar, off my radar, because I was doing so much. Like, I was going 24/7, just all day, every day. I would work from like 6 to like 4 p.m. I'd get home and like eat for an hour, make a bunch of content and post, and then go live from 6 to like midnight, and then do it again the next day. So like, I had a lot going on in my life, and I just got back from Texas and things were so crazy. So I was just trying to chill and focus on my grind. So as time went on, I kind of recognized the car he had. It was like an old beat up black car. It was always parked at the far end of our Planet Fitness parking lot. It kind of looked like this. And so I thought he lived in his car and that he was from the area, and he kind of just, you know, was around Planet Fitness because we were open 24/7, and he would use the facilities, like charge his phone, take a shower, work out, and kind of just like stay out of the way. He had some sort of weird obsession with me. This time I couldn't deny it was getting strange. My coworkers were bringing it up, people in the gym were bringing it up, people in my classes were bringing it up. And at this point, we actually started getting complaints from other people in the classes about his smell. Because even though he was coming to Planet Fitness, I don't think he was using the showers. I think he was just hanging out there all day. And of course, if he works out, you're gonna sweat. And if you're living in your car, it's not the cleanest situation. So like, when he would come in, the smell was getting really bad. That was like my first concern, that, you know, something wasn't right. Like, if literally everyone in the gym is like, yo, we can't work out, we can't do anything, because like, anytime this guy comes around, there's just a putrid smell. And the thing is, I brought it to my manager, and my manager's a great guy, don't get me wrong, but he definitely believed in Planet Fitness's motto, judgment-free zone, more than anyone. And he was also a pastor, so he was a very loving, accepting guy, and he didn't want to turn anyone away or make anyone feel excluded. But at this point, he was signing for 4 or 5 classes a day, and to the point where he was just coming to every single class. And honestly, at this point, I kind of thought, you know, he was gay, you know, homeless or living out of his car, and he was a little obsessed with me, and that's kind of what I thought it was, which already right there is kind of a stalker. But he was there at the gym 24/7 all day, every single day, like my whole shift he would be there. And so I think maybe like 2 or 3 more days passed, and this is what I call the confrontation came, like the first confrontation of a couple. So basically I remember that day I saw him in the morning. He worked out, he was like staring at me, and he was like completely pale and just sweating. Like, I'm not gonna lie, bro, I wouldn't be surprised he had pulled out a gun and shot me. Like, I never really had real conversations with him because he was so socially awkward, and I thought that was part of, like, you know, him maybe being autistic. Like, for example, I would ask him, like, you know, where are you from, and he'd be like, heh heh heh. I'm not even kidding. He'd be like, heh heh heh, and he wouldn't answer. He was so nervous and just like on edge. The dollar store right next to Planet Fitness. Like I said, this is the most tweaked out I've ever seen him. At this point, I kind of thought he was like a drug addict too. Anyways, like I said, there was a dollar store next to Planet Fitness, and on my breaks or whenever, I would go next door to the dollar store and I'd get like an energy drink, get a snack, you know, whatever. And so I remember when I left to go into Dollar General, I was like on the aisles like grabbing stuff, and I looked down one of the aisles and I saw him, and he was like leaned out in the aisle, and I was just like, he was like looking at me, and when I made eye contact with him, he literally did this. He went like back like to like where I couldn't see him in the aisle. And at this point I'm like, all right, bro, you know I saw you, you saw me, we're not in the gym anymore, so like why are you hiding and watching me? I remember I just grabbed my stuff, went to the cashier and checked out, went back to the gym, and I told my manager, I was like, yo, Brandon was like followed me to Dollar General and was like following me around, like watching me literally around the aisles, like an actual like creep. Like, I couldn't make any more excuses for him. My manager was a super nice guy. He's like, yeah, that's really weird, I think he's just, you know, struggles with a lot of things. And I was like, yeah, like, no duh. And so basically what happened, I got off my shift, I think maybe 10 p.m. that night, 9, I can't really remember. It was dark, and I was walking out to my car, and there was maybe like 3 or 4 cars in the parking lot. Some people were still working, and maybe a couple like gym goers. And I remember as I was coming out, there were like no cars on or driving around or moving. And so as I come out, the lights of a car come on, and it's Brandon's car in the far part of the parking lot. And I'm like, oh God. Alright, I was like, is this how I'm gonna die? Like, am I about to be like shot in a Planet Fitness parking lot and bleed out? So I kind of like walked to my car as soon as I could. And as I'm walking my car, I see him in the parking lot. Basically, and it wasn't like super fast, like he didn't like floor it, but like when a car is driving fast in a parking lot, you can tell. I was getting in my car, he was like looping around the parking lot a long way. So like basically so he could pull up next to my car. Like I could kind of like already tell the pattern he was taking, like taking a big long loop. But as I was like sitting down in my car to shut the door, this car pulling up next to mine. And I remember I was shutting the door like this and getting in my car. And the side panel of my car is actually where I kept my gun. So I was pulling the door closed, and my right hand was kind of going towards it. Like, then again, I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't know what was going on. I don't know what this dude's deal is, so I'm not like pulling it out and pointing it right away, obviously. You know, I'm trying to fill in the situation out. So I get my door shut, and my window's up, and I lock the door, and then I switch from my right hand going for it to my left hand, so I look more chill. Because I see him stop his car, and he gets out, and he's on the opposite side, so he has to walk around the front of his car. And he didn't park right next to me, he parked in a parking spot over, so there's a parking spot between us. I didn't have my finger on the trigger, I just had it around the handle of my gun. And I was holding it in the side panel of my door, so I could pull it out like this if I needed it. And when he stopped, he like jerked forward because he had stopped and put it in park so quick. And like I said, if you've ever seen someone who's like criminally insane, they'll have this crazy look in their eye, like their brain is on, it's ticking, but there's no human controlling it. It's like they've gone completely lizard brain. And as he comes around his car, he looks frantic, phone out like this, you know, like this is the front of his phone. So it's not like he was like recording me, like holding it like this, recording. He had it out like this, and I could see a white screen as he was coming to my car. So he comes up to my car, and at this point I didn't really look at the phone, but he had it like this. This was the most I've ever heard him talk. And he looks at me through the window, and I'm just like, and he's like this. Like, I'm not even kidding, bro. I'm not exaggerating. Like, that means his phone in one hand, his other hand, he's like telling me like roll down my window. Fuck, I was like, dude, I'm gonna get killed. And he doesn't have a weapon, he's not threatening me, so I gotta take my hand off my gun, and I cracked my window to see what he wanted. And he was out of breath, he was sweating profusely, and he was just completely tweaked out. He said, I've been watching you and your brother for a really long time on YouTube and Twitch. I love your TikToks. I follow you on Twitter. Can I please get your phone number so we can hang out, or we can maybe go out? And this whole time, I thought this was just a guy from like the local area or found me at the gym or something like this. I thought this was like someone who just ran into me in real life, but it was someone who knew me through social media and was like following me on all my social media platforms. And so at this point, like, I have a limit of being nice. If you cross the line, bro, like I can get mean, I can get like serious. And like this point I was dead ass serious, handing this out or like thinking what to say. Like it was just instinctual, and I was just like, you need to back up and get away from you right now or it's gonna be a problem. I remember just pure shock in his eyes, and like his mouth fell and he took like 2 steps back from my car and he just looked like he was in utter shock. He just totally expected in his head for me like, yeah, here's my phone number, let's hang out, you know, like I'll be your, like, let's go on a date or something like that. I don't know what he was expecting, but you could just tell that his whole mind had completely, he had created some sort of fantasy in his head. And I remember I just dropped it in the drive and I drove off. And as I'm leaving, I call my manager. I'm like, hey, you won't believe what happened. And I tell my manager the story. He's like, okay, come back and we're gonna pull the cameras. I come back to Planet Fitness and he's not there. I go to my manager and he's like, listen, I have to request the time for the cameras and everything. You tell me exactly what he did again and write an official employee statement, because apparently the manager of Planet Fitness, as a manager, he had to go through his district manager to be able to ban someone from the gym, to be able to ask someone not to come back, to this. So I had to make a written statement, he had to request footage, and we had to like basically compile like a case against him just to get him banned from Planet Fitness. And I was doing it and he's like, all right, I'm gonna send this to my district manager, I'm gonna call him in the morning. Basically I go home, I stream. It was such a stressful time, just money wise, getting my career going, coming back from Texas. I was going through a lot. The full scenario, the full gravity of the situation wasn't really registering in my head. And honestly, I didn't know how bad it was. But I was like, damn, bro, this guy wasn't even completely random. Like, he found me through social media and like found out where I lived, came to my gym. Like, where all has he been following me? What all does he know? Follow me to my parents' house when I visit my parents. Did he follow me home? Does he know who my brother is? Or, you know, whatever's going on. Like, there's a lot to play. Like, is he me waiting outside my house in the morning to shoot me as soon as I walk out the door? But I already started to become really paranoid. Yeah, God, the story is so long, I forgot. Like, it's kind of crazy this happened to me. It kind of is like a whole other chapter in my life. I go back to work the next day and I see my manager, and as soon as he sees me, he has like this look of like, I let you down look. What is it? Like, what happened? Can't ban him. He gave the written statement and the timestamps for like when the thing happened in the parking lot. His district manager said that wasn't enough to terminate or ban someone from Planet Fitness. And I was like, but did you tell him? Like, he was talking about like my social medias and like my brother, and like the district manager said that's not a reason to ban someone. But the district manager and my manager agreed to not let him take any more courses from me. And this time we had a second trainer, so if he wanted to go through training courses, he'd have to go to the other trainer. Like, honestly, I thought about quitting. Like, how are you guys not gonna like protect your employees when someone's literally using your guys' facility, using my schedule? You guys are posting my schedule to stalk me and to potentially harm me or my family. Like, I was like this close to quitting, but like I had to be real with myself. I was like, I need this job right now. I was like, I can't quit. I think like 2 or 3 days went by and I saw him again in the gym, and he looked like angry all the time now, and like he wouldn't talk to me. He would like be in the gym and I would see him watch me. So he'd just be on the treadmill walking all the time. Just after the whole confrontation, go in the locker room, and the bathroom's around the corner. Follow me to the locker room, and I sensed him. I smelled him. I literally fucking smelled him following me. And so as I went to the locker room, I kind of like went in there and like, there's like a towel machine. I kind of like just fucked with it to like pretend like I was doing that. I was like, I'm not gonna use the bathroom with this creep around. And so as I turn, I could go in there and fuck with the towel thing, and I'm going around to walk out, he's right there. And so like I literally have to stop or I'm gonna run into him, and he's literally like this, like all pissy looking. And literally this is what he does. He pulls up his shirt. How would I get rid of these? And it was literally like, I guess his moobs and his stomach, like he wasn't in the best shape. Not hating, but like, you know, I was like, I literally looked at him, I was like, this is not a question to be had in the locker room or the bathroom. Walked around him and walked out. Kind of a part of the story I actually forgot and I left out. We kept finding 4 Loco cans and little like those miniature bottle of vodkas in the men's locker room. At one point when I was training him, he would ask me, he's like, I'm not losing weight, what's going on? And I was like, well, what's your diet like? He was like, I get wasted every single day. And I was just like, yeah, you know, alcohol is probably the worst thing to lose fat and get gains or whatever. In my head, it was him because he was there all the time. So we always find like crushed 4 Locos in there and little like bottles of vodka. Thing is, like, I'm 6'2", I'm almost 200 pounds. So I'm like a small, like defenseless person, you know, for sure. When you're being stalked, it's not about like for example, if I'm at the club and someone pushes me, like I can fight, I'm ready, I can defend myself. or you know, if I'm at like a store and I get into a confrontation, I know. But when someone's stalking you and they know your schedule, they know this, they know that, like they can surprise you. They have an element of surprise, and they can follow you around, they can follow your family around, like they can set you up. There's so many things that can happen that is like completely out of your control, unless you're walking around 24/7 like with like a gun just ready to go, you know. Planet Fitness was zero help until I got the law involved. I remember the next day I get down with the client and it's early in the morning. I streamed the night before, so like I'm streaming, gymming, like I'm tired, I'm exhausted. I remember I was going next door to the dollar store to get an energy drink, and when I was getting that energy drink, he was standing on the sidewalk and he looked at me and he was like, "What's your deal?" And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Who is that girl you were with yesterday?" And so basically, to rewind time, at this time, like I said, I was with my brother and his girlfriend. And my brother was having a car issue. Me, my brother, and his girlfriend at the time were coordinating, you know, getting home. And when I would leave my shift, it was almost perfect, especially after I worked out, to pick up them. My brother's girlfriend got off her Walmart shift maybe 30, 40 minutes after my Planet Fitness shift. And I need to go to Walmart to get like toothpaste, deodorant, whatever. So I was like, I'm gonna go to Walmart first. So I go into Walmart, I work out, I go into Walmart. And as like I'm getting my stuff, I see her, and you know, she's like, "All right, you know my ride's here." And so like we're chatting as I'm checking out, and we walk out, you know, we're chatting. I get my car and I drive us home. And so this guy was like, "Who was that little ginger girl you're with? Is that your girlfriend?" And I was just like, and so then it clocked in my head. I was like, he followed me to Walmart. Like after I got off my Planet Fitness shift, he followed me to Walmart, watched me to Walmart, saw me walk out of Walmart or in Walmart with her. I don't know how much he watched me. I don't know if he followed me home from Walmart. I don't know. I literally looked at him and I didn't say a word. I went back into Planet Fitness. I told my manager, like, "You're going to have to cancel that class. I'm calling the police. Like, I need an officer here. I'm having a serious stalker problem. This guy's harassing me and I need help." 45 minutes to an hour later, an officer shows up. He's still there. So when he sees the police cars pull up outside of Planet Fitness, our whole front side of Planet Fitness was glass. So you could see any car pulling up from basically anywhere in the building. So he sees the cop car pulling up, he leaves the gym. And at this point, I don't care. I'm like, I'm gonna tell the police. Police come in there and I tell them this story, basically the same one I've been telling you guys, minus like my backstory. So like how this guy's been stalking me, the examples. This is legit what the police say, bro. So a guy is talking to you at the gym you work at in Walmart, public places. And I was just like, he was like, yeah, that might be a civil issue. And I was just like, what? He was like, "You're getting mad because a guy is talking to you in public places." Like that, and I told him about the social media thing. I told him about him following me to Walmart and like asking, "Oh, is this your," like doing all this weird stuff, the phone thing, waiting for me after I got off. Police officer literally made me sound like an idiot. He didn't make me sound like, he was trying to make me sound like an idiot. And he was like, "Yeah, bro." like laughing. I was like, "Bro, are you like what?" "Yeah, we don't arrest people or do restraining orders for people who go out in public." And so at this point I was like, "So you're not gonna help me?" "Yeah, I can't really do much." The officer was zero help. Good thing is my grandma knows a lot of lawyers through her job, so she was able to put me in contact with some people. And basically what they had told me was, yeah, as far as getting a restraining order, stuff like that, you know, he is in public places that are, you know, they could argue like, "Oh, Planet Fitness is a common area, or Walmart is an area where people could run into each other and ask questions about each other." So there's no real proof he's breaking the law and stalking me or harassing me. And so at this point I'm starting to get really paranoid. So I went in Amazon, I bought like this like lock thing for my door, put like a bar across my door, and I like barricade the door. I bought like a bunch of little baseball bats, pepper sprays, alarms, fake cameras. I couldn't afford real cameras. I think I actually still have one. Yeah, I still have one. I literally bought these fake cameras to like mount on my house to like scare people. Like there's like, "Oh, there's a camera," you know, whatever. But basically, I remember the next day in the gym, I didn't see him. He kind of like disappeared for 2 or 3 days. I think it's because he saw the police. I started talking to the lawyers. They said, "Well, if you want to try to get a restraining order, file a non-contact suit, we're gonna have to build some evidence." So basically what one of them asked me was like, "Can you find some proof that he's been stalking you through social media as well?" And so this is when a whole nother like can of worms opened. And I'm sorry this story is so long. Like it really was a process of like months and months and months, almost a year process of getting this thing settled from start to finish. It was so bad in my mental. I had a terrible experience in Texas. You know, I wasn't doing great financially. I was trying to get my streaming career going. I was trying to get my social media career going. I was doing so much stuff. And this was before I got completely sober. I was smoking a ton of weed, so my mental wasn't always the best. But basically the lawyer said I need to go through my social medias and I need to find more proof of his accounts. And he had like the most basic name ever. His first name was Brandon. I want to say his last name, but it was a basic ass last name. I go through, I'm looking through my socials, like my Instagram requests, my Twitter requests. And so this is when things get scary. I'm going through my comments, my posts over the past year. I'm going through my Twitch stream, watching my viewers, who's in there. I'm going through my Instagram requests, TikTok, Twitter. And so I found his Instagram account and he had no followers. He was only following like 10 or 20 people. His account was private, no profile picture, but it was the same name. And I knew it was him because when I looked in the request, the messages were me at Planet Fitness. Hey, you working today, bro? Hey, loved your new video. And like I said, the thing is, the messages had started from like 3 years ago, like before I'd moved to North Carolina and started training there. So he had been watching my content for a while. And so basically for 2 years, he was talking to himself in my DMs, you know, watching my Twitch streams, watching my YouTube videos, and creating like this weird fantasy in his head that like we were gonna be together, that like he was a part of my YouTube videos, like he knew my brother. He would comment like really weird sexual things. Like I saw in the messages, like I would post a story and he'd be like, no way bro, I'm from West Virginia. And he would like leak personal things about himself throughout the messages. And so basically when I had moved from Texas, he saw that I was moving to North Carolina. And like I said, he was having this conversation with me by himself, like replying to my stories, replying to all my posts. And like I said, I had not seen it because like I said, I don't really go to my requests. And like if I see a request from an account that has like no profile picture, no followers, no pictures, no nothing, I'm not really gonna reply or engage with an account like that because I don't know who you are. When I had moved back from Texas to North Carolina, he was like, oh, I'm in West Virginia, bro, I can't wait to hang out, it's gonna be so dope to see you. Where are you moving to North Carolina? Where are you moving to North Carolina? And so he had been having this crazy fantasy building in his head. After the first confrontation, I didn't even realize the messages had turned scary, saying like, bro, we had been friends for so many years, how are you now not gonna act like you don't know me? Mind you, I never talked to this dude other than maybe if he came in like a stream, a TikTok live, Twitch live, and I had talked to him like through a username, but I didn't know who he was at all. And he had just latched onto my life. He'd been following me for, you know, 1, 2, 3 years at this point. You know, I had dated or talked to girls or whatever, and he would post like, oh, they're ugly bitches. He would send me screenshots and like edits of their faces all scary. Or he'd be like, haha, did you see what our brother posted today? And it'd be like a post from my brother, and he would say, our brother? After that confrontation, he had went home and sent me a bunch of messages, and he was like, how could you do this to me, bro? I thought we were gonna be best friends. You know, I thought we were gonna hang out. The next day, they had turned threatening. What I did was I started collecting all this, screenshotting it, screen recording it, and it was kind of harder on TikTok, but I got a ton through Instagram. I was going to a lawyer, and he was going to try to, you know, once we got enough, go through a judge. He was asking me to go to my manager at Planet Fitness and get some written statements from my coworkers and my manager about how this guy's harassed me and been really weird towards me. I'm trying to build this case while I'm streaming, doing social media, trying to make ends meet, personal training. Now I'm also working on getting a restraining order. As I'm doing it, when the straw that broke the camel's back, I'm out of Planet Fitness. I remember him standing in the parking lot, and in one hand, like the leg of a chair, a stick, a piece of wood or something, but he's not holding it in the end, he's holding it in the middle, like down by his side. So it wasn't like he was like holding a stick by the end like this. And he does the weirdest, creepiest thing ever. I don't even want to repeat, like I don't want to do it because it was so creepy, but basically he opens his mouth as wide as he can, kind of like a Titan, and he just points into his mouth. He goes, like, he opens his mouth as wide as he can and just starts pointing inside of his mouth. So like, this is his mouth, and he's just like pointing in it over and over and over, like making this weird hand symbol gesture. And I literally look at him and I'm just like this. I walk back in the gym. He's standing like in the road in front of the gym, like when cars drive by to go park, like in the way. I literally just go to my manager, I'm like, look. And my manager looks out there and he's like, what the heck? And he's just standing there with his stick, pointing inside of his mouth, just doing this weird, creepy hand gesture thing I've never seen before. Like I said, the whole Planet Fitness is glass, so all the gym goers, all the coworkers, they all see him, and my manager calls the cops. And so the cops get there, the cops are pulling in 20 minutes later, and he's still on the road doing this weird thing. I don't know how to explain it. I genuinely don't. To this day, I think about it, and it's like the most inhuman, most like psychologically crazed thing ever. Pull up like 20 minutes later, he's still standing there. I don't think he's doing the hand thing anymore, but he's still standing there with a stick. And I remember the cops get there, he looks at Planet Fitness, like I said, everyone sees him, and he goes, you bitch. And I guess, I don't know if he was saying Planet Fitness, me, It's probably me, but who knows? The cops come up, he drops the stick, and he just stands there and doesn't do anything. And the cops walk up to him, they grab one hand, they grab his other hand, they kind of escort him out of the road into the sidewalk. I don't know what's said there. So after they talked to him, and they asked for me, and they're like, how do you know this guy? He says you guys are friends and you invited him over here. And I was like, let me tell you. I started telling him all this stuff and showing him the screenshots, and of course, like right there and then, the officer can't really do a ton, but he was like recommending I get a restraining order, a no social media contact order, and you know, he can't do anything right there. He's like, we're gonna remove him from the premises today. At this point, my manager called, the district manager, and he finally got permission to terminate his membership and trespass him. They trespassed him from the premises. He's not allowed to come back anymore. Now the cops are kind of helping me, kind of believing me, and so as the cops talk to me, he's like, yeah, apparently this guy is from West Virginia. He drove over here because he said you guys were friends. He's living out of his car in the Planet Fitness parking lot, and he doesn't have a criminal record here, but calling, you know, West Virginia to see what's the deal with this guy. Is he have family? Is he a caretaker? What's going on? And they smelled alcohol on him, so they knew he was drunk, and they know he lived in his car and he drove around everywhere to get places. So they took him, I guess they took him to jail that night or whatever, and at that point he was trespassed from Planet Fitness. He was allowed to come back and his membership was terminated. Thank God, right? And you think that would be the end of it. Unfortunately, it wasn't. This whole process, I'm probably at 6 or 7 months into dealing with this dude at this point. Dealing with him technically way longer, but against my knowledge, I was being stalked. The mental scarring that this did to me, as far as like worrying about my safety, being paranoid, just about everything, it lasted so long. I've only recently gotten over it, but I'm still paranoid and very protective over my location, myself, my personal information, and things like that. And honestly, everyone should on the internet. And when this is all happening, my lawyers, the police say, don't talk about it on social media, don't post about it, don't antagonize, don't entice him, don't do anything because he could hurt you, your family, act out again. And the best thing to do is just ignore him and give him no attention. So I'm going through this all basically completely alone. I want this situation over with. I was going through so much. About 2 weeks later, like I said, I'm still working on it, still doing all the stuff going on in my life. I come into Planet Fitness, and it was a day my manager wasn't working. So I think it was an assistant manager. And first of all, we had gone through so many assistant managers in the peer to me working there, and they were all complete garbage. Like, I remember the dude who was the assistant manager when I came there was like the most annoying, weird dude ever. Like, at least he was creeping on other people instead of me. Anyways, he had let this guy back in the gym, and I guess from in the past, he kind of recognized him, but didn't recognize him as the guy who got arrested and trespassed. I don't know how. I honestly, he knew. Or maybe he did. Maybe he's just dumb. I don't know. This manager did not know. That guy got fired like later on for other unrelated reasons. The guy was in the gym and working out, and I remember him looking over at me and just giving me the creepiest grin. When I walked in, I looked at this manager, I was like, what is he doing here? And he was like, working out. Like, I was like, dude, I was so mad. I let it go in the back room. I called the police immediately. The thing is, when I call, at this point I had a contact number because I got the officer's card who really helped me out the last time. Shout out to that guy, because there was one officer who recognized and was like, yo, this could turn into something potentially dangerous if it's not dealt with now. And so he was really cool. I had one officer that was really cool, helped me, went and talked to people, really helped me push this process through. Pulled up, and my assistant manager's like, what's the cops doing here, bro? The guy pulls up with like 2 or 3 other cops. They arrest him, take him to jail. And I don't know if he gets charged for trespassing in Planet Fitness, but I didn't have the restraining order against him yet. But him re-showing up at Planet Fitness, all the stuff we have, him finally getting arrested, him, all the social media stuff I collect, the arrest helped, and we took the arrest record. We went to the magistrate, and finally my lawyers, everything, after like almost a year, we were able to get a restraining order against him and a no social media contact order. And I was super traumatized from it, and I like towards the end of it I was just like, bro, can this please be over? Like, I want to move on in my life. And I was going through so much other shit at the time too. Like, this was just like the sprinkles on top of the Sunday of a shit show that my life was at that point. So the cops and the lawyers were like, even after we got the restraining order, no social media contact, they were like, don't talk about it, don't antagonize, don't entice them, like, just let it die. So yeah, I did. You know, I was super paranoid. You know, when you have a stalker, you're always looking over your shoulder. You never know when they're gonna pop back up, where they're gonna be hiding. If they're gonna be around the corner, if they're gonna break into your house, break into your mom and dad's house, go after someone you're talking to. Like, you never know what's gonna happen. So it honestly was one like the most mentally damaging things I think I've ever been through. It was finally over, and now it's been, you know, almost 4 years. Yeah, feel like it's chill to talk about now. I haven't seen or heard from him. And like I said, most of my stalkers now are just like people are kind of like obsessive online and like obsessed with my online antics. That doesn't really bother me, but if you like cross the online boundary into my real life and it affects me and my family and you guys it starts getting dangerous, I'm gonna take it seriously and I'm gonna handle that shit. Anyways, I don't know how long this video is gonna be. It's a long story. Appreciate you listening to my rant. Appreciate you listening to me like basically trauma dump, and always take these situations seriously. If you got a stalker who's like literally like coming into your job, messing with people in your family, making threats, doing anything at all, take it very seriously and do what you can. I'm not gonna lie, the legal system was barely any help. It felt like they put up so many barriers for me to get protection, for me to get safety. It was so bad, it took me so long, I jumped through so many hoops, had to spend so much money I really didn't have at the time. It was something I would never wish on anyone, and it was probably the worst thing that ever happened to my mental as far as like, you know, like my safety wise. So make sure you guys like and subscribe. As always, it's been your boy DJ Sin, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Love you guys.